Hello there, welcome back to the Gongju campaign. Previously we dealt with the whole being invaded near the capital thing by destroying one of Cao Cao's armies in a cheeky defense and getting off-screen peace with Yuan Shu. We then finished off just about Yu Minshang's faction in the south after a grinding battle, but there's another war in the south and Gongdu has just arrived to fight it. We need to face down Liu Bei himself in this one decisive battle. I started off in a pretty defensive formation, even though I'm the attacker here, because I'm planning to make the enemy attack me. We're just going to focus on rear attacking with horse archers without moving our main force, to see if the enemy can be forced to attack us, as it often can in Total War. I was impressed with the enemy's formation. I've mentioned this before. Unlike in previous games, they do tend to form better crescents when outflanked, and here they've got this complete hook in response to me attacking their flank and rear at the same time. Pretty good stuff actually. The only problem they'll face is their composition. They needed to form their crescent out of their archers because we're attacking with ranged units. I'm not sure it goes into quite that much detail, the AI. So that means we're going to see a situation similar to what we saw the last time the AI pulled off a nice crescent defensive formation. They'll just stand there and get shot until they get bored. And there is Zhang Fei, one of the greatest warriors in the land. Need to watch out for him. After a while then, we kill a bunch of random spearmen, and this causes the AI to give up on their defensive posture. They're going to go into offensive mode. They send troops after my flank attack and my rear attack, which is perfect because it means they won't be taking part in the main advance, and we can always just run away with the horse archers and generally take enemies out of the fight. So we're just going to stand here. We are now defending for all intents and purposes, which makes the micro a bit easier. At the back there was some trouble because some archers went back to attack my horse archers, and as we've seen previously you can't see where the archers are shooting when there's snow on the ground, so I wasn't paying too much attention and didn't notice. However, one of my units is gradually running towards the enemy archers to attack them. The snow slows it down though. The enemy's cav are making an attack of their own, on my archers in fact. However, it's not going to be particularly effective. They sort of catch up to us, but they lose enthusiasm at the last minute, and now they're standing in front of my spear line, so we move forwards and engage them quite easily. Here was a case where I'm being fooled in several ways. The enemy were attacking my flank, and I thought I'll charge out with my spearmen here, but A, they're not spearmen, it's militia of virtue, they just have actual sticks. And as mentioned previously, there is no bonus for attacking the enemy's cav with your spears. You could equally well do it with swords, and I think it would just go the same. But anyway, at least the enemy's cav have been stopped and are now fighting on our flank. The guys who went after my horse archers at the back are just gradually getting killed, so that's good. And more enemy cav come in to charge our front line. I was hoping to see this unit just die due to the charge reflection thing on our heavy spearmen. But with the snow slowing everything down, I guess it also debuffs the reflected charge thing, so you can't kill cav in that fashion. Still, now they're stuck fighting against our front line, and we'll probably be okay. Here come the first enemy infantry to join the battle, and there they go again. They didn't last very long. This is the night battle taking effect. The enemy's morale is already low. More issues at the back with Zhang Fei slaying the horse archers that I used to take out the enemy's foot archers. So that's bad news, but of course it means Zhang Fei isn't fighting on the main line, and that's going to make our life nice and easy. Liu Bei is hanging out near the front line, near enough that I can shoot him with arrows. He's doing this little dance trying to dodge them, but he's not dodging them enough, and he loses most of his unit to that fire. And then Gongdu sweeps in from the flank to battle with him. What I was looking for here was evidence for my theory that when officers fight, the officer models specifically will seek each other out to have a duel. In this case, looks like we didn't have enough time to test that theory because Liu Bei himself was cut down by some random guy. So there we go, the enemy faction leader is gone, and it's having an inverse effect, an adverse effect I should say, on enemy morale. Units begin to rout, but it also has a positive effect on Guan Yu and Zhang Fei. Because they are oath-sworn to him, and he has died, they now get plus 100% attack and plus 100% armor-piercing attack. So now they're super powerful and can start rampaging through our lines. Zhang Fei is at the back there, so that doesn't matter too much, but Guan Yu is in amongst our troops. The only thing I think is saving us here is the fact his unit's on exhausted. The game doesn't explicitly say what this does to your stats, but if it's like in previous games, it gives you huge debuffs to a lot of your stats, especially your attacking stats. So, we're kind of fine. We just hold on against Guan Yu. He doesn't really kill many of our men, and we are still occasionally killing his men. As for the troops in Liu Bei's army, we're going to just start routing them unit by unit. The men on the front line are now overwhelmed, and most of the enemy's army is actually just loads of archer units all over the place and the odd scattered spearman squad. All we need to do is hit them. Their commander's dead, so their morale's hit. It's a night battle, so their morale's already low. And while our attacks aren't very effective because of the snow and our own exhaustion, just getting in there and killing a few men in each unit will get the routes going. We are still going to have issues back here with Zhang Fei because he's returning from fighting our horse archers. So now our officers will have to face him, and he's going to be all buffed up and powerful. Here he is fighting with Gongju. They're just slapping away at each other. I suspect that if I left this battle going, we would eventually lose. Zhang Fei probably has really high stats because he's one of the legendary story characters. But in this case, it's not going to be too much of a problem because the enemy army is starting to rout, and you can rout even these berserking oath-sworn characters like Guan Yu here. He decides it's not worth dying on the same day as his brother, etc., and just gets out of there. Zhang Fei does the same thing. And soon enough, the battle is over. Didn't bother pursuing them to see if we could take them down because I didn't think we would. Wanted to see if the auto-resolve could give us something better. Only a close victory, but it always says we have a close victory, so there's no point paying attention to that. It was probably fine. Let's take a look at the actual results. The enemy army is in huge trouble. In particular, they've had all of their leaders captured. We've got Liu Bei, Zhang Fei and Guan Yu up on the chopping block. Liu Bei is looking really nice. He's such a happy chappy. He's just like the greatest guy in the world. He's lame apparently, that's his only downside, but that just makes him more endearing. So we could leave him alive. However, this whole thing was his fault. This is a war of aggression from Liu Bei. Plus, if we kill him, we can steal his weapon, and the same thing is true for Guan Yu and Zhang Fei. So the Peach Garden Oath will be fulfilled in that the three brothers sworn to die on the same day will, in that we'll execute them all at the same time. There we go, hopefully they'll be happy with that. And it means that Liu Bei's faction has just been ravaged. They've lost all of their main commanders right there. Going to ransom the troops back to him and basically go and just kill them again because their army's right there and we'll still have the movement points to go after them. Had this message come up saying I have the chance to take a horse, and I thought, why is there the option to not take a horse? You might as well have an extra horse. Then I immediately realised this is based on a tale in the Three Kingdoms novel where Liu Bei gets this cursed horse, although I think it might actually have been a blessed horse or something. It was magic in some way. I forget the details, but now we've got the potentially cursed horse, and that was why you had the option to not take it and avoid the curse. So as long as no one rides it, the curse isn't triggered, so I'm just not going to equip it onto anyone out of paranoia. Anyway, back to business. As I said, we can just attack Liu Bei's army again to finish it off, and that's going to be the end of him. We'll kill the guys and ransom the prisoners again to make even more cash. This has been very profitable, this battle with Liu Bei. And as I said, his faction is in huge trouble now. Still, we'll want to continue the war and try to take those Chengdu farmlands. They should now be relatively undefended. There's still a hidden army near Baxi, but a few men in the city should be enough to deal with that. However, actually, as we go into the next turn, various things about the strategic situation are to change. First, we've got this peace deal with Sun Jian. Not the best deal, because we have to give him some food for a while and a fan in order to get this peace, but I'm going to take it just because it's nice to not be at war with people. It reduces the risk that they'll crusade against us or something. And getting peace with Sun Jian also gets us peace with Huangzi, his vassal, as well. The really big change, though, was with Liu Bei's faction, because now that Liu Bei's dead, it's been taken over by someone else. It's Gong Langshu, perhaps a relation of Gongdu. More importantly, though, the faction has immediately become a vassal of Yuan Shu somehow, so that's pretty cheeky, since Yuan Shu is a smaller faction than Liu Bei as far as we can tell. So this means we're not at war with them anymore, and our dream of taking the Chengdu farmland and making our border less horrible is over once again, and now in order to invade them we have to be at war with Yuan Shu at the same time and risk the capital as well. It's a very annoying situation right here. But that's just the situation we find ourselves in. while I was doing some diplomacy, I did get a peace deal with Cai Mao as well. He did once threaten to attack us, so that's something. We're actually not really at war with anyone anymore, it's just Cao Cao, and we haven't seen much of him. We don't know where his territory is even, but he has attacked us before, so potentially a risk. Still, a pretty peaceful situation for Gongju. We've got tons of territory, and most of it's actually somewhat secure. That's very nice, isn't it? But of course, everybody hates the Yellow Turbans, so this is unlikely to last long. Conrong is doing some suspicious maneuvers in our territory in the north, just walking up and down with that big army, so he's clearly planning something. And Wang Lang here, whoever he is, declares war on us. I don't know who he is, and I still don't, because we're not going to be seeing him, but someone doesn't like us. Maybe he's over in the Yuan Shao area of the map. Now, I almost declared war on Conrong there with a misclick. What I'm doing is moving Gongdu's army back towards the north. I thought, Congrong's up to something, so I better go garrison up there just in case. However, then, in the very next turn, I had second thoughts. I started thinking, wouldn't it be better to actually just go after the Gong Langshu faction now, and try to conquer some of this territory and get some sort of security going in the south, because this situation is probably going to keep degrading and we'll keep being at war with our horrible border over and over again until we do something about it. So I was about to commit to that, but then Le Bu is back at it again. We now have a war in the north indeed, and we've got no armies up there. Given that, I thought I really will move Gongju up there after all. That's going to take a few turns, also going to move the army near the capital over there as well to help out in the war, which further disincentivizes going to war with the Yuan Shu, Gong Lang Shu coalition thing going on there, since now the capital will be in danger. As well, we're just going to focus on Le Bu for now, and our southern armies are actually mostly being disbanded at this point. I'm just going to save some cash, which we'll use in a second. One interesting thing that happened during the turns of waiting was that Cao Cao got vassalized by some other faction, so that's nice. I think there might be some sort of offshoot faction from Yuan Shao. And this means we're not at war with Cao Cao, so it's just Le Bu. That's a war we can actually fight, meaning there's potential here to get to a point where we're not at war with anyone, which really would be a first. Now, the thing I'm spending all the money I'm making on is building new territory in the south. By disbanding a lot of my southern trash stack, I'm able to save up some cash and start just building new territories down here for free, which is much easier than actually conquering them and doesn't require us to really have a big army in the area, so that's nice. Going to keep that project going. Now though, it's time to get back into the war, because our armies have finally arrived on Lu Bu's border. My inferior army sneaks up to take a look to see what we've got to work with here. They do have an army defending their town or their salt mine, but it's not a full army, and we have two armies, so I'm pretty confident we're just going to storm right on in. The balance bar looks bad, because the enemy have garrison forces to help them out, plus, as revealed by the map, they've got choke points and they probably have towers as well, so we can't just storm in and immediately win. Because of that, I'm just going to siege them out. We can bring the second army up to stand here and make our siege look ever so imposing. Still though, the enemy do actually sally at the first possible chance, so now we get to fight a much easier field battle. We've got tons of men on our side, but the balance bar still isn't that good because our men just suck and the enemy have a garrison as well. So going to need to take this one manually to make it nice and clean so we can just go on after this capture and attack Lu Bu again. I did have a little mishap near the start of this fight. I was sending my archer cav behind the enemy's army, but while I was playing I couldn't see their reinforcement army. I thought it was already joined up with the force that's attacking me already. So I accidentally got rear attacked with my horse archers by the enemy's reinforcement group. Tons of foot archers in there, very dangerous. But as ever, our horse archers are just somehow invincible and we just run away from it and it's all okay. As for my army, my main army, it's just humongous because it's two full stacks combined, the biggest force we've ever put to field. It's way wider than the enemy's army, so they are going to be in for some good encircling fun once they arrive. We had a bit of a break here as well because lots of the enemy archers aggroed onto my horse archers and decided to chase them along with a few other units. So that's massively reducing the amount of troops the enemy are making their main attack with, and we have so many men here that really we don't have to do anything. As a result, there's not that much to say about this battle, so we're going to look at some gratuitous footage of the disgusting Imperials being annihilated by our yellow turban goodness. Here was a case where the enemy are advancing with all these shielded units, so our archers aren't very effective, but there wasn't much else to do with them, so I thought let's just absolutely unload on these guys with so many arrows that even their missile block chance won't be enough to save them. So we're very slowly and very inefficiently taking out a few of the enemy's infantry units here, and I was marvelling at how the guys with the flags, who probably technically still get the missile block chance, are just getting away with this. The arrows just stick into them and don't count as doing damage, or maybe it's just the old invisible health bar thing coming in again. They can just take loads of arrows before they go down. Whatever the case, that unit is gradually getting killed, very, very slowly, and now the archers from our second army are starting to fire at other things. The enemy already don't have enough melee troops to overcome our generic melee line. And it's only going to be getting worse, and there was even a case over here where our troops actually fired at guys who didn't have shields, so now half our arrows won't be doing nothing when they hit the enemy ranks. Good stuff, don't really have to do anything as the player, so that's all good as well. My favourite type of battle, just wait for the enemy to die. Did have to do a bit of micro over here, but look at this amazing situation. The enemy archers are just spread out all over the map. They had so many archers, they could have done tons of damage both to our archers or our melee line, but now they're just wandering around. They're trying to shoot our cav, but gongju isn't going to have any of their nonsense. He just tanks the arrows, charges in and starts slamming through their ranks, and of course the arch units just die instantly once the cav are in there. And we can even bring back our kiting horse archers to strike the enemy as well. Once they start skirmishing all over the place and not firing, that deal is going to be pretty much sealed. The enemy are just kind of confused at the front line right now, not sure which units to attack with. They don't have enough men to attack us, and the AI seems to be holding off, realizing it can't really attack properly. And as they do this, I'm just going to encircle them, gradually extending our line all the way around them, and then I'll go in for the strike. We begin a rear attack with our cav and this big second line of infantry. We did though take one actual hit right there. Some heavy cav hit our light swords and killed a whole load of them. That's pretty much the only success the enemy will see in this battle. Now it's going to be some good old-fashioned double envelopment fun as we absolutely surround and pound them in the most strategic possible way. Their officers are going to go downtown, and their troops have all bunched up right at the front. They all tried to break through one part of the line, but that part of the line was thick enough to stop them, and now everything else folds in, and they are royally screwed. Just takes a little bit of a cavalry touch to chain route everything, and that's the end of that. They try to escape while encircled, and it works quite well because of how routing isn't that deadly, as we've talked about before in this game. But we're not going to bother chasing them down. We'll just take the auto-resolved result. That's going to get rid of most of them. A decisive victory. It was so good that it didn't even say it was a close victory. So we already know this is going to be a good one. The enemy lost 10 times more men than we did, and they lost all of their officers. Well, technically their officers are still alive right now, but we are not going to allow them to continue living. Just so it's going to be extra easy to finish off the survivors and take the settlement next turn. To make it even easier, we can do some recruitment. I'm pretty sure we lost virtually no troops once the recruitment's taken into account as well. And as you might expect, once it's our turn again, we can hit auto-resolve, finish off the few guys in there, and move on in. So that's one of the 2 Lubu territories taken. Good stuff. And we're in perfect condition. Let's just keep moving and go for the other one. We can't quite get there in the next turn, but we can get close enough to see what's going on. They've got another army there, but it's not very big. I tried to do an ambush plan, setting both armies in ambush stance, but the enemy didn't come out to retake their territory or anything. Meanwhile, far to the south, the construction work continues. Our empire continues to grow, even got an achievement for something or other there. You actually don't get anything when you take the territory at first. You do have to build a building there before it does anything for you, so I need some more money, but we'll get to that at some point. And here we go, laying siege to this last Lubu place. They recruited a ton of units in that turn actually, which was annoying, so there's a bit more stuff in there than before, but not enough stuff to resist just me coming in with both stacks and getting an okay auto-resolve, so I thought, fine, let's just do it. No point doing a nice, easy win like the last one, because it would be even easier, and there's no point, because there's nowhere to go after this. There we have it then. That's the end of that, or is it? I figured that would be the destruction of Lubu's faction, but there was a clue already that it's not, because we haven't seen Lubu himself, and he's probably respawned by now. The faction is still out there somewhere then, we just can't see it. We've got Kongrong on our border, and the other borders nearby are apparently the edge of the map. There's a bit of Han Empire over there as well. I think some of these territories are just undiscovered to us, so it says they're unknown or something, but we still have a diplomatic penalty if we walk into them, so someone owns this territory here. Maybe that's where Lu Bu is, although we'll see some evidence in the future that he might actually be somewhere in the east as well. I still don't actually know. Whatever the case, our vendetta against him isn't over, but the war is sort of over. We've sort of got peace in that he's not here attacking us and we can't attack him, so that's all well and good. However, now most of our troops are right up at the very top of the map, and most of our territory is much further south and is mostly bordered by Yuan Shu and his vassal, two factions that are both powerful and hate us. I think you can probably predict what's going to be happening in the next part.